Julissa Vasquez, Littleton Avenue. My concern is that we're reading about how schools are closing, being renewed, and redesigned, but my child is in a renewed school, Kansas Street School, where the principal doesn't interact with parents, don't even say good morning to teachers. Yeah, that's her boy. He's disrespectful. The principal we had there, she used to be out there in the cold. She used to be out there in the cold greeting parents, making sure the kids will be inside the building. This principal doesn't do none of that. He does the 7th and 8th grade lunch, and he has already have 2 food fights that he can't control. The after-school program, teacher is not organized. That place, when you go in there, you see the students out in the cafeteria running, playing around. This teacher does the suspension in the school where he's a teacher's aide. He should have a teacher in there with him. At Barringer High, I signed up for university to speak last month, but I couldn't make it that day because at Barringer High School, it's another school that you supposedly renew. My nephew goes there. In the gym, he got beat up with a black and blue, and I don't know how long the teacher didn't notice. It was like 20 minutes that passed. Kids videotaping it, and nobody helped. Once my nephew came out, told the teacher, could I go to school nurse? The teacher said no. When my sister went and asked questions, the principal, the vice principal was nowhere to be found. When they gave her answer, they were in the meeting. No Newark police officer either. So I told my sister, take yourself from that school and call the ambulance and ask for answers. So you want to renew schools, you want to close them, reassign them, which I think is not fair. Turn them into charter school because you want to make that money. But where's the Facebook money we had? Where is it? All into charter schools. Students at Barringer High coming out at Friday, 12:45. These kids don't go home. A student at Technology told me they were waiting for them at the bus stop. He said, I was afraid, I ran back to the school. So I don't understand why these students are coming at 12:45. They ain't going home. They're on the street. And if you live in Newark, you will know these students will stay on the street. You want to renew school and do this to our school? These kids depend on these schools. That's like their second home. If you walk around or drive around our neighborhood, and each block you'll see teddy bears fly because there's a lot of killings. There's a lot of stuff going on in our neighborhoods. So you don't know, the schools for these kids are their second school. So Cammy, you need to wake up and realize, stop renewing schools, pay attention to the community, be fair to students, and when students come to this podium and they're crying, begging you to please don't close our schools, stop renewing our schools, you should listen, because we do care. I'm a parent and I do care.
Thank you. Ms. Vasquez. Ms. Vasquez, will you be here at the end? Will you be here for the remainder of the meeting? Will you be here at the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, may I speak to you at the end of the meeting, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Our next speaker, I also need to recognize as a past member and past president of the Newark Board of Education, Ms. Marion Bay.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
As a community leader and former parent of Newark Public Schools, my children attended Westside High School, Shabazz High School, Alexander Street, Mount Vernon. I've always chosen to follow the very strategic phrase of choose your battles. This small 3-word phrase has protected me from the too big of fights. And there's another phrase, those who stand for nothing fall for anything. So a couple of weeks ago, when the superintendent blatantly disrespected the hardworking Newark parent and the very children she touts such love and affection for, those students that afford her to collect over $240,000 base pay, along with perks of $50,000 bonuses. I didn't rush in, not even for the statements alluding to the predisposition of our children becoming criminals by suggesting when they are not in school building, crime goes up in our city. I was very offended by that. Not even when she failed to give any form of apology, sitting stockily and watching the staff as which one she would take the responsibility for, which staff member would ultimately under her responsibility, who would ultimately watch under her responsibility, excuse me. Today, I know I failed to rush in. We should have been there, community, in the thousands. We should have been anywhere they were fighting this insanity. Weequahic High School being shut down without a discussion with community. Malcolm X Shabazz becoming Shaq Sport Academy. Are we considering these maneuvers as actions being taken to better educate our children? No, we should only understand this as a business of taking over our city, failing and keeping commitments to best practices. The list released on Friday in conjunction with the superintendent's new One Newark and Universal Enrollment Plan must be understood for what it really is, a major wave of new wave infidels, meaning a people with enough power to change the world of education for good, but lacking for moral fiber or true belief in our children to do so. Understand the children currently attending Hawthorne and Burgaw will remain and become Team Academy students, and it is being sold to us as a plan of inclusion of the special ed student and equality for all children. But it doesn't work, and such a plan fails. You have sold the neighborhood schools, and where will all our children go? That is facing the destruction of neighborhoods. Just one last thing, if you don't mind. At the same time, and without explanation, we ought to simply allow you to renew the renewed schools and that you created. Is this an admission that your administration plans failed? And who's accountable for that? If the superintendent had in fact kept to her promise of making sure the charter and renewed schools shared best practices, would we need to continue closing schools at all?
Ms. Bay, could you finish your thought, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm almost finished. And her schools are renewed schools get a second chance by being renewed. While she shuts schools down and now community and turns them over to charter schools. What happened to the superintendent's arguments that parents should have the right to choose?
Thank you. Next speaker, Dora Hidalgo. Is Dora Hidalgo here? Next speaker, Maureen Robinson.
It's not a fight tonight. Season's greeting. As you know, my name is Maureen Robinson, 428 Doyle Street, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Early on during the month of October 2013, I was assigned to teach to a classroom of 9th grade cognitively impaired special needs students. Testing them revealed that they were far below where they should be academically and socially, which did not come as a surprise to me. Therefore, I set out to research locating books and differential teaching materials to compensate areas of their deficiencies. They are nowhere near comprehending the advanced levels of strategic academia encompassed in the relatively newly implemented Springboard program. Neither have I been trained in the administration of that program. Thus, I was left with limited options, one being heavily relying on various websites for resources that would accommodate and supplement weaknesses in the areas of the 5 disciplines that I am required to teach them. Neither I nor the students have a working printer. I have been informed that this district has only 3 technicians, the rest have been fired. That the tech has the part to fix the student's printer, but he has not had the time to return to Central High to fix it. So to improvise, I went out and purchased a printer. However, it cannot be connected to the district system. I then went out and purchased $129 worth of supplementary activities from the teacher's store in Watchung. Our technician at Central High does not have a printer to replace the one that she removed and discarded. The monitor that I'm using is damaged. I need a new one. The hard drive sounds as if this is going to explode any minute. The desks that my students are using are raggedy and unsafe. They were taken from the music room. In order for my students to write on them, they have to pull 2 desks together. I was hoping that perhaps we could retrieve some desks from schools that closed. And by the way, I have presented the issue up the chain of command. I also sent 2 email requests to the West Region's director. He sent someone to my classroom who commented on how nice and accommodating my classroom was and stated that I would be getting adequate desks for my students. The desk still has not arrived. There's no heat in the room. Paper is a commodity, so I purchased a case of paper from Staples. I ordered and paid for textbooks from Amazon. I do know how to improvise. That leaves me with the question, since the governor has confiscated and/or controls every budget in every predominantly African-American school district and alleged that he had balanced the budget in the state of New Jersey, then why are books and supplies a deficit in our school districts? Why don't we have a copy machine in the special needs department at Central High School where it is needed the most? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Dawn Haynes.
How y'all doing tonight?
Good evening. Fine.
My name is Dawn Haynes. I am a resident of Newark. I have a few children in the Newark public school systems. This is the map that my children helped me create tonight. And on this map, we see a plethora of colors for the school closings. I find it very alarming that majority of them are in the South Ward. Now, as a friend of people that's in the teachers, nurses, social workers, what I hear and witness is a straight disrespect and immoral method of treatment towards the people of this community and those that serve this community. The attack on public schools implies support of the charter school agenda, and by far, that means the superintendent is failing at her job and making the public schools successful. Several NPS families are experts in closing schools. Went to Warren Street, then Burnett Street, and now Newton, all closed. Talk about a setup for failure. You have some serious unstable environments being unproductive. Each year, you snatch away a school from our community. We shouldn't have to fight for our children to be taught with a quality education. And by quality, I'm not talking about the rinky-dink curriculum that you stuffed in our kids' school that was given to us. By quality, I am not referring to the Greek mythology my second grader brought home to me practicing for a play. When it is law that the Newark Anti-Violence Coalition has been demanding you to put into place for the last 4 years for the Amistad law to be put in place in our children's classroom. So this way they will be learning about Nelson Mandela and it won't be a foreigner on TV. They'll be learning about Ella Baker. They'll be learning about Queen Nzinga. These are people that our children should be able to identify whether they're speaking Spanish or English. I am also very concerned at the women that I sat with that decided to go back to school to get their education and is sitting here before you because it's closed and it's not even on our almost 2-page long list of school closings. How much confidence do it take for a woman to have her children here all night so she can express her feelings and her anger about her furthering her education and not being able to? There's something severely wrong with this. I have also noticed in my findings that a lot of the people that are on the payroll are double dipping, not to mention are from existing failed charter schools throughout the country, like the lady that's from Louisiana who is under investigation now. This is amazing to me how we get these people from around our country to come here and fail us. This is beneath our understanding. This is spiteful. That's what it is. It's spiteful. And it's not fair because I don't want my child in a charter school. I don't want to have to pay high tuition for her to go to a private school. It's not fair that I graduated from Malcolm X Shabazz High School class in 2001 and my children won't be able to because you think it's a good idea to close down Shabazz. The logic behind it don't make sense. You're trying to take kids from south side of Newark to the east or the west or the central, and you're not taking into consideration that there's gang activity in these streets. The murder rate in the city of Newark is ridiculous. Y'all have a good night.
Next speaker, Aljathea Cannon. Aljathea Cannon. Is Ms. Cannon here? Next speaker, Nancy Gianni. Please allow the speakers to be heard. Ms. Gianni.
Hi, my name is
evening.
Nancy Gianni. I'm one of the newly elected NTU vice presidents. As everyone in this room already knows, there are over 20 Newark public schools on the latest chopping block list. Some schools will be closed permanently. Other schools are being redesigned. Other schools are returning into renewed schools. Still others are being reviewed, dissolved, redesigned, and sold to charter schools. The end goal of NPS is to end up with only 100 schools in Newark that are made up of public and charter/private schools. Many of us are here tonight have been asking ourselves and each other, why is this happening, especially in our district, an urban district, as opposed to a suburban district? It is my personal opinion that the public school systems, especially in urban areas, are the newest California gold rush. Corporate America has realized that they can make lots and lots of money from the education system, but before they can do that, they have to first destroy the public education system. As we all know, they have poured millions of dollars into this anti-public school, public educator campaign. In the meantime, corporate America continues to make plans for their takeover of the public education system. They have become consultants to public schools. They have opened up charter schools where they can get the federal funding that comes from our tax dollars. But unlike public schools, they can also get bonds and private donations. I would like to spend the rest of my time and ask all of us to take a moment of silence to mourn the loss of the democratic public education system and ensuring equal opportunities to all. In this moment of silence, please reflect on how we have allowed corporate America to prioritize money over the education of our children by using our children as stepping stones to their own personal gains. Let us mourn childhood friendships that develop in neighborhood schools. Let us mourn socialization skills that are learned in our neighborhood schools. Let us mourn critical thinking skills being taught to our children. Let us mourn the dismantling of the special education system that serves our special needs students. Let us mourn the loss of educators that entered the field of education because they love to teach, as opposed to people that are viewing teaching as a two-year opportunity and a stepping stone to something bigger for themselves. Where I sit, I see the future of education using politically correct language in stating they want college-ready students. But in reality, I feel they are only interested in creating Walmart and other companies like Walmart wage earners. For the rest of my time at the podium, please take this moment of silence to mourn the loss of our children's future in the public school system and all it was designed to represent, a better life for our children that we had and our foreparents had. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Jose Velasquez.
Good evening, Newark Board of Education members.
Good evening.
My name is Jose Velasquez. I'm a teacher at Central University at Newark Evening High School for 28 years and a longtime resident and activist in Newark since 1979. The assignment of Cammie Anderson as state-appointed superintendent of the Newark Public Schools has only led to a policy of confrontation with the Newark communities and the teachers who labor under difficult conditions in the school system. This state takeover was similar to a colonial invasion, taking power away from a Board of Education elected by the voters in the city. Now, every day, we see more highly paid consultants, more decisions to close schools and to invest in charter schools at the disadvantage of the majority of public school students. On another issue, historically, the Newark School District celebrated November 19th as a holiday in recognition of the importance of the Puerto Rican community in Newark. This date later became a focal point for Hispanic Heritage Month, and the school district even sponsored Latino cultural groups in the schools in coordination with the Puerto Rican Educators Association, of which I was a proud member of, and the superintendent. However, with an attitude of a new conquistador, Cammie Anderson this year relegated the discovery of Puerto Rico on the school calendar to the 30th of December, a day on which the schools are on Christmas vacation. With the swoop of a pen, the superintendent believes herself so powerful that she can change the history of Puerto Rico and reconquer us during the Christmas holidays. I don't know what's funnier, Cammie Anderson on a conquistador coat of armor, or on top of a camel on December 30th, 6 days before the celebration of Three Kings Day, the Epiphany, on January 6th. With this action, Superintendent Cammie Anderson showed a total lack of historical knowledge, a complete lack of respect for the Puerto Rican Latino community and the citizens of the city of Newark. Lastly, as a proud parent of 2 boys who attended the Newark Public Schools at Luis A. Spencer and Science High School, it is also important to raise the alarm as to what is happening to the magnet schools in this city. It began with a philosophy of taking away the magnet schools' role in selecting their students, to now assigning a large percentage of students who normally would not be selected at these schools. Aside from the philosophical debate, I urge Ms. Anderson to go to New York and do the same to Stuyvesant, Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech, and other magnet schools in New York City to see how long she will remain superintendent. It's already known that as a representative of the Christie administration, she has a political agenda that runs contrary to the best interest of the people of Newark, which highlights the importance of retaining local control to the for the Newark. I urge members of the board, as I finish, to challenge these actions on the part of this administration, and I fully support the statement of Board President Tony Vasquez. Coda, congratulations to Jordan Thomas, one of my students at University High School, one of our students who now joins others from University High School who have gone on to Ivy League colleges, including my own alma mater, Columbia University. It's ironic that University High School is under attack by policies, not conversation, not dialogue, that will effectively destroy the character of University High School.
Thank you, Mr. Velasquez. Next speaker, Lyndon Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Lyndon Brown, President of the Essex County PTA, and I'm sharing numerous concerns that have been brought to my attention. First, I want to say that renewing, redesigning, dismantling schools is not the answer. Restoring funding, vital resources, and staffing is key. We need more attendance counselors back in our school. We need a directive guidance, and we need our school leadership councils to be revamped in our schools. School safety is an issue. Superintendent Anderson, last week at the business meeting, you said there were only 20 incidents reported in the district. I just want to say that that's inaccurate. In the past few months, there have been numerous and various incidents. There is a real need for honest and detailed reporting. The district has a detailed discipline policy with level 1 through level 4 infractions, and that policy is being circumvented and blatantly disregarded. 2 weeks ago, a student was assaulted leaving people's prep. Barringer had a fire drill on Friday, which resulted in 2 fights occurring. The principal at 13th Avenue School got into a physical altercation with a student who was arrested and taken to the youth house. We've also had the vice principal collapse after trying to break up a fight between 2 students. Bullying is on the rise. We had a student threaten suicide. We had the paddy wagon and the ambulance was there. Cleveland has ongoing disruptive students. It's a renewed school. And, you know, they get on a microphone 40 to 50 times a day asking students in all grades to report back to class, calling name after name. So instruction is being hampered. Students cannot learn because constant disruption, the cursing, the fighting, daily. We need to have more social supports in our school. We need more security. Our ESL students were taken out of Quitman Street School and 13th Avenue School, put into Camden because they lacked instruction in core subjects. They had only been getting instruction in literacy and math from September to December, so they were put in that school, and yet transportation is an issue. Just yesterday, they were not picked up until after 9:30, and so they missed breakfast, and then they had to, they missed valuable instruction. The parents bring those kids to these schools to be picked up by the buses, and the buses are late, so that's a major, major issue. Mice are running rampant at Camden Elementary School. The kids can't nap. The parents complain that the mice are all over the place in the primary grade rooms. We need exterminators there, Mr. Molino, right away. And we need to look at the fact that effective leadership is key in a lot of our renewed schools. Renewing schools again, redesigning is not the answer. It's not about professional development. It's not about implementing Common Core standards. It's not about extending the learning day. It's about effective leadership. And when you have a school climate and school culture that is toxic, student achievement will not take place. And we need to look at the administrative leadership, not just at the school level, but at the assistant superintendent and district level, because giving principals autonomy who have no experience and who are ineffective is having a diverse effect on our student achievement. And I want to say that we need more social supports in our schools, and we need you to start visiting. The parents from Westside High School would like you to come visit. We had a meeting there tonight. They walked out. They're not pleased with what they heard. They want you to meet with them ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please stop yelling out. Next speaker, Asamad Harvell. Next speaker, Janice Reedus. Next speaker. Oh, that's it. I missed someone. Where am I? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I went out of order. Next speaker, Wilhelmina Holder. Okay. Next speaker, Sean Williamson.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Before I speak, I would like to have a little extra time to congratulate the young man here for making it to an Ivy League school here in New Jersey. Congratulations.
Okay, we can't give extra time, though, so we do have to, and I don't want to take your time, so.
Also, the interruption when we're trying to speak because we're angry parents is kind of uncalled for. Y'all supposed to be there to hear our cries and understand where we're coming from and help us out. We don't have any parent input when it comes to the decisions that y'all making. The stuff that y'all had up on this board earlier, it makes no sense. The bullying is still on the rise. I don't know what that decreased thing meant. The bullying is still on the horizon. My daughter was bullied earlier this year. And the bullying at 13th Avenue Renewal School is still going on. My name is Sean Williamson. I live at 56 South 14th Street in Newark. My daughters go to 13th Ave, MLK Renewal School. One of the schools considering for closing. I don't understand why we have a lot of these public schools closing down. We grew up on public schools and not these charter schools. The state is trying to save themselves some money by selling us out and giving it to these charter schools, and these charter schools are kicking these students out, and they have no place to go. That's why the crime rates are still going up here in the city of Newark. Y'all call yourselves trying to help us out, but y'all don't come to the school. I'll be at 13th Avenue School every day. I haven't seen hardly any of you there. Y'all don't know what the bad conditions that goes on there. Even though they did some good things there, they changed some policies of teaching. My daughter couldn't read a lick when she came there last year. Now she reads to me every day. She's 8 years old. The safety is a main issue to me. There's not enough security guards at the school. And then when they get sick, there's nobody there to take their place. On the 4th floor where the 8th graders are there, fights break out. This is where the bullying and stuff arouse. We can't get the parents to come out. Y'all stricken on the rules where we can't get these parents to come out. I don't believe in this in-school suspension. I don't understand what that means. When a child is suspended, they're supposed to go home, and the parent's supposed to bring them back in when the suspension is over. I don't understand what these new policies are. Some of these policies doesn't even make sense to me. We need to do it like we did it back when I was going to school. Also, I also like to talk about the security, the guards that cross the kids across the street on 12th Avenue. The lady's been out all year with a broken leg. Not one substitute came there, and these kids are crossing the street. These cars are coming through. Bus lanes are out there. There is nobody out there to cross these kids safely across the street. Any of these kids can get hit at any given time. Now, y'all say y'all worry about my kids' safety. Show it. Show up. Come on out there on the block in 25-degree weather like I'm out there every day. Prove to me that y'all have the same fortitude like I do to come out there every day and help these students, try to make it safe for them. Some of these kids don't even want to go to school because they're scared of what's going to happen to them inside and outside the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. Next speaker, our next speaker is also a past president of the Newark Board of Education, Ms. Evelyn Williams. I'd like to just recognize her as that, and thank you for coming out this evening. And I apologize for the long wait, and also thank you for your patience.
No need to apologize. My children are worth waiting for. First, let me say to my beloved Jordan Thomas is a family member. He's a Newark Public School educated student all the way through. So is his father, who teaches in this system. So is his grandmother, who was a bulldog, who taught in this system as a master teacher. So just letting you know, and I know if you had your druthers, you would try to change and say he came from charter, but he came from Newark Public Schools. And let me tell you, there's many of them. And you talk about, just what he's saying, you're putting students in university high who could not test in. What do you think you're gonna do? If I can't make that grade, I'm gonna start some trouble. When you knew you're gonna make them a failure, that's by design, not by coincidence. You're trying to dilute the test scores in the city of Newark. All of this is by design. How is it that we don't realize when we're being hoodwinked and bamboozled again? They're bringing their people from corporate America who can't keep their job to come here in Newark. Now they've got to do other things. Y'all better remember what it's told us what was going to happen. They will come to steal, kill, and destroy. They've come here to steal the monies away from our children to educate them. They came to kill their dreams. They came to destroy the entire structure of the Newark Board of Education, its people, and its city. But I'm here to tell you you're wrong. We will stand. We made the mistake of allowing the Trojan horse into our city, but we're running you out. You think you can do what you want to do to us? No. And you know, we have to wear, you tell us these things, Ms. Anderson, you wonder why. First thing you got to have is trust. We don't trust you anymore. You have told us to our face. You've sat with people and gave them promises and took their plans and their proposal, and then you turned them away. You talk about, now Harriet Tubman, let me just say, I've got bail money. I got bail money because I'll chain myself to the door. What I live for, I'm willing to die for. I'm going to fight for. That's a blue ribbon school, written up in Red Book. How dare you? They told us we were getting a new school, not a closed one. Let me tell you, we've got wonderful teachers. We've got a Miss Bridget. We've got a Miss Clark. We've got a Miss Lewis Charles. We've got a Miss Bobbitt. Mr. Bobbitt. We've got a Miss McLeod. Noah Marshall knew what he was doing when he went there. And they're keeping it going. Our children are learning and they're succeeding. I have 2 grandchildren that graduated from there, both who went to college on a scholarship and graduated because of what they got at Harriet Tubman. And I've been there for over 25 years. And guess what? When we leave there, we're going into a new building. Otherwise, we're not leaving. Just know that you've got great teachers if you would allow them to teach. You've got Denise Walkers. You've got Ernestine Thomases. You've got wonderful educators that you're tying their hands for. But understand who you work for. You're going to do his bidding. I understand the governor. He doesn't care about my kids. He's already said he disrespects us totally. And I understand what they brought you in here for. But the gig is up. The lamb, the wolf, the lamb's cover has been taken off. We know you're here, Wolf. You're a barracuda to eat up our children. Cammie, you cannot look yourself in the mirror. Guess what? You're going to answer to a higher authority because of what you've done to children. We will not allow it.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Tony Ryan. Next speaker, Lauren Williams. Lauren Williams.
I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. 403 South Orange Avenue, Lauren Williams. Good evening, Cammie. I'd say happy holidays, but we all know that's impossible with the news of so many school closings. I'm here tonight to speak out against the closure of Newark Evening High School. For the last 88 years, Newark Evening High School has provided countless adults with hope and enabled adult students to receive a high school diploma for free. Let me remind you that Newark Evening is one of a kind and is the only adult program left in Essex County. In fact, there are only 15 statewide, according to the New Jersey Department of Education's website. Unfortunately, if Newark Evening is closed, there won't be anything to replace it. That's not only a travesty, that's criminal behavior. And for what? To save the measly $600,000 it takes to run NEHS? Let me put that amount in perspective for you, Cammie. It takes less than a third of your $240,000 base salary before bonuses to run NEHS. Better yet, that's 6 consultants you can fire. After all, we still don't have a full accounting of what these consultants actually do. Ultimately, I've worked at Newark Evening for the last 4.5 years, and I've seen firsthand the difference this program makes. At Newark Evening High School, we serve 3 major populations: those looking for another chance after dropping out, immigrants, and high school seniors looking for credit recovery. We serve people like Miss Parnell, who was 72 years old when she graduated in June 2012 from Newark Evening High. What will become of these students? Moreover, what kind of message does closing NEHS send to the community? Let me answer that as G-rated as possible. It's like throwing up a giant middle finger and slamming the door of opportunity in the faces of those who need it most. How dare you? It shows you value an adult's education as much as a child's education, which is not at all. I could go on for hours, but I'll close with this and put a human face on NEHS. I stand before you with over 100 signatures from NEHS students. I'm putting you on notice. This is only the beginning. We will not falter. We will not give up. We will prevail, because at NEHS we stand together, Newark strong.
Next speaker, Donald Jackson. Donald Jackson.
They tried to lock me up last meeting. Was it last meeting or the meeting before last?
Mr. Jackson.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Donald Jackson, 79 Tracy Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, 07108. I got to say 0 instead of 0. Otherwise, I'll forget. Before I begin, I need to say this. if there is no justice, there will be no peace. And Ms. Anderson, you've shown us no justice, so we won't show you no peace. So you better get used to it, because it is only the beginning. Newark, I need to express this. Board, I need to express this. We need to stop being fooled and bamboozled by old rhetoric that people who have caused us to be in this situation come up here and spew. Okay? I think you know what I'm talking about, so I don't have to go into details. Newark, don't be fooled. Remember who got us in this situation. Where are the rest of our elected officials? Where are our senators? In fact, we have a senator who sits on the educational chair for the state of New Jersey. Where is she? It's time for us to start calling our elected officials and start holding them accountable, okay? We don't vote for you. We don't pay your salary for you to sit down, pass legislation that don't affect us and does not help us. The city of Newark is in a dire state of emergency. And I would wish that some of the people that were here earlier would have stayed, because this message needs to go out to them via the board. We can't just come out to these meetings and sit down, yell for 5 minutes, and then leave, because that's not where the battle is, okay? At first, like their street doctor used to say, or always says, no investigation, no right to speak. Half of us ain't even investigated the issues, so we don't have a right to speak. We need to find out what's going on in our school system. To speak up to a point that a parent brought to me earlier today, the ESL, English as a Second Language students, are being segregated at Camden Street School. That needs to be investigated. I hope you're writing this down, dear superintendent, because guess what? Segregation was outlawed over 50 years ago. Last time I checked, it was illegal. It was illegal. So this needs to be viewed. I also want to stress to you, Ms. Anderson, this is not a police state. You will not scare the community. You won't scare us with yelling at us. You won't scare us with our 5-minute warning. You won't scare us with causing security to come up behind us if we go past our minutes. You will not scare us, Ms. Anderson. We don't scare easily. And for my last point, I want to make an announcement that I, Donald Jackson, will be running for Newark Public Schools Board of Education. And let me explain to you why I'm running, okay? Because, see, it's a little quiet. And I know some of my elected board members, they're doing their thing, they're doing what they have to do, but you need a little bit of help on that board. I'm coming up there to let you know, Ms. Anderson, to let our dear governor know, and to let our dear educational commissioner know that us, the city, the community, we're tired. We're tired of you taking our schools. We're tired of you claiming that you're trying to make change. We're tired of you bringing these failed programs. We're tired of you experimenting on us like we're science guinea pigs. We're tired. Newark, it's time to stand up. Stop coming to the meetings, yelling and leaving out the door. You need to stay and get the information and understand what is going on. We are in a state of emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
It is all hands on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Next speaker, Veronica Williamson. Veronica Williamson. Next speaker, Virginia Morton. Ms. Morton. Next speaker, Donna Jackson.
Good morning. All right, now let's wake up, everybody. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to not go to jail tonight, everything. All of y'all out there in TV land, pray for me because it's hard. Miss Anderson, I'm going to ask you, so that we don't have to continue this path, to put in your letter of resignation tomorrow. I'm going to ask you. Don't clap. Because we already moving. I got over 3,000 signatures in 24 hours on a petition for your removal. And I'm trying to tell you, Miss, Christmas vacation is here. I will door knock. I will walk door to door like I'm running for governor and want you out as much as the people want Krispy Kreme out. We are on a crusade in this city to save our children. You are rude, you are disrespectful. Miss Morris has come on your team and been as rude and disrespectful as you are. You lied to us by telling us, deal with you after the meeting. You lied to us by telling us that parents could apply for high schools on November the December the 5th through the 7th, somewhere around there. Website wasn't even available for parents to do that. We continue to call Newark Public Schools. We continue to call Tia Morris's office, which is what she's supposed to do. That's what I pay her $157,000 a year for, to be the parent coordinator, doing nothing but catering to CBOs. Okay, you don't want me to use a name? What's her title? I'll use that. Okay? Because we called and called and called. Ms. Morris, unfortunately, was hired to, and if she don't like it, then get out the parent position. Because when you represent parents and you work for parents, that's who you're supposed to work with and for. You're not supposed to work for the charter school parents, because they're not a part of Newark Public Schools. Each charter school is their own district. They have their own board. They have their own way of doing things. Newark Public Schools is for public school people. Yeah, I know it was 2 seconds. It's all right. In closing, let me just say this, Ms. Anderson. We have had it. We do not wish to continue to sit and be with you while you lie in this community to allow people like North Star, KIPP Incorporated, to make money off of our children. Because we clearly know what's going to happen. You're going to allow them to try to assimilate these buildings. They're going to pretend to take our children for that first 60, 90 days just to get the money. And then once they see that they are very seriously a challenge, as they see now, they're going to begin to kick them out. And then what happens then, because you have given away all of our buildings, you and Corey and Christy, our children will have nowhere to go. This is why Mr. Shavar Jeffries passed a classroom size waiver, where classroom size in Newark can exceed 50. We are not dumb. We are not uneducated. I know what I act like, but trust me, when it's time for it to go down, it goes down. So yesterday, Ms. Anderson, just to let you know we're not playing, we filed a federal civil rights complaint against you and what you're doing to the children in the city of Newark. We will continue to get our signatures for your removal, but all I'm trying to tell you is Krispy Kreme, Corey, Surf, and nobody else in this country can save you when mothers learn the truth of what you're doing to their children.
Thank you,
what you've done
Jackson.
to ESL kids and special ed kids, you should be put in jail. If the office of DIFAS in this
Jackson.
state, I'm concluding, let me
Thank you.
conclude. You let everybody else.
Yes,
If the
Ms. Jackson,
office of
please finish your
DIFAS
thought.
in this state did their job, Miss Anderson,
Ms.
you
Jackson.
would be in jail right now.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Our next speaker is Stephanie Isons. Stephanie Isons. Our last speaker this evening, Kathleen Witcher. Is Ms. Witcher here?
Kathleen Witcher, 80 Johnson Avenue. I'm representing the South Side.
Please
Malcolm
allow
X
Ms. Witcher to be heard.
Oh, they can
I'm
hear
sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Witcher.
I'm representing the South Side Malcolm X Shabazz High School Alumni Association and the NAACP Education Committee statewide. First is a question, the others are not. First question, why is 303 Washington Street up for sale? And why is Affirmation High School moving in with a monthly tuition? For the record, I hold this missive of November the 12th that was signed by Superintendent Anderson. It is inflammatory to those of us in the education circle because we know that the NJEA, the NTA, and the NEA are professional education organizations, and whenever there are scores of workshops for the professional development of our educators offered, we should be encouraging and focusing and directing our educators to be present. The flavor of this letter that I received when I was babysitting one of the Newark children is dismissive of that kind of educational progress. Next, I would like to invite everyone to attend the regular meeting of the Alumni Association, because although we are from Southside Malcolm X Shabazz High School at 80 Johnson Avenue, at 7 p.m. on this coming Thursday, December 19th, we are asking all students, parents, all former students and stakeholders to meet with us for next steps. You see, as stakeholders, we are still waiting to hear the arrangement for our meeting that we requested on June 10th, 2013, with our Alumni Association, with matters that concern our school that were left from our last meeting of September 2012, and also from June 2011. Those questions remain unanswered, and we have not received the documents requested. We resent this disregard and disrespect that emanate from a mural suddenly posted on our building. We have a legacy. Our school is 100 years old this year. Our school is named for Malcolm X. He said, education is the key to the future. It belongs to those who prepare for it today. Reebok is not a part of that legacy, and Reebok is not the God of Johnson Avenue. We ask you, Ms. Anderson, where is our children's entitlement by the mandates of the New Jersey State Constitution to their guarantee of thorough and efficient education under your tenure? Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will move to old and new business. The floor is now open for old and new business.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Lewis.
just a few quick things. One thing is one of the speakers requested the evidence of success from our current renewed schools. I know a few months ago, the board, we requested test scores from our current renewed schools to see where have the success been. I believe that at this point, we as a board need to request this again to see the evidence, because we're talking about renewing new schools, and we still don't know where the other schools that was renewed have improved that. So if we can request that as a board through you, Madam Chair, the evidence of success of them schools that was renewed last year, where have they improved their test scores? It's like I know Camden Street was one. I know 13th Avenue was another. So if we can request that through you, Madam Chair. Also, I want to resubmit Ms. Gregory's questions as my own personal questions, because I am entitled for you to answer my questions as a board member. So I want to resubmit her questions as my questions, because I have the same concerns as well. And even when I went around to some of the schools and talked to the principals and asked them what was this early and dismissal was about, I got mixed stories. One said it was for the SID grant, another one said it was because the kids are in school longer hours to other days of the week. So no one seems to know why our children are being dismissed early. And I want to know, because we are mandated to educate a child from 8:30 to 4:30. And if they're not in our custody, we are held liable and responsible for them. So if children are being dismissed and we don't know about it, we need some type of answers to any question. Somebody here need to be ruled. Somebody need to be held accountable for our children not being in school. Also, the crossing guards, I also asked for an audit on our crossing guards. If we could get an audit, how many crossing guards do we have? Are we missing crossing guards at certain schools? And we can get an answer from the police department when they plan to replace the crossing guards, because I also seen a lot of schools not have crossing guards. A lot of people are out on disability. Some people have retired, and we understand that safety is our #1 priority when it comes in. And I just want to say, as a personal board member, as the vice chair of this board, that I totally am against everything that this district is proposing far as the year 2013 and 14, because I am too I'm too a product of the school system. I went to Louise A. Spencer Elementary School, went to Hawkins Street School, graduated from Arts High School, played football for Eastside High School, and I traveled the world saying I was a product of North Public Schools. And I believe right now there's no hope in our city. And I believe that the superintendent is driving that bus of no hope in our city, and I hold this administration responsible for our children not feeling like they belong to something valuable. I talked to my little niece last week, and she was excited about attending Arts High School for her 7th grade year. But when I talked to her last week, she said, Uncle, she said, how is I go to the first performing high school in the country, and I get out the car, my mother's car, and I see these big blue things in front of it. I don't feel pride. So our children understand the conditions that they're in, and they feel as though that we as adults don't care about them because we're just sit back and we don't say nothing about what the environment they live in. I am a product of Hawkins Street School. I'm alumni of Hawkins Street School. I'm alumni of Arts High School, and I believe that the direction that this district is on, because I'm entitled to say how I feel, because this is my district. I walked across them stages. I walked through them hallways. I sat in them chairs. Nobody up here besides the board members did that but us. We sat in them chairs. We walked them hallways. So we are entitled to give our opinion. And we are entitled to stand by people when they're right and say that they're right. And we are entitled to talk out against people when they are wrong. I don't care about you trying to bring us up on ethics charges, because when you're wrong, and I'm going to call you out because you are wrong, and you are wrong to try to sell our children to anybody. And that's what I see this plan is.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
We are selling our kids to this charter school system, giving our children away to this charter school system. If our parents wanted their children in charter schools, they would be in charter schools. They wouldn't be at Madison Avenue. They wouldn't be at Hawthorne Avenue. They wouldn't be at any of these schools. They want their children in North Public Schools, and we should not allow this district to continue to give the charter schools free will to our children.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, you requested 3 particular pieces of information. If you could please follow that up with an email request. And the 4th issue of the crossing guards, excuse me, I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson. The crossing guards, are they our employees? Are they the district's employees?
They're not district employees, but we do have some interaction with the city in terms of their placement. Mr. Kukula, our Executive Director of Security, and I will be discussing that tomorrow. There's no reason why the crossing guard placed at 12th Street, I think Mr. Williams indicated, should have not been replaced. I do know that there are a limited number of crossing guards available based upon the city's budget, but we do coordinate with them for the placement of those guards.
Thank you very much.
Madam,
anyone else old or new business?
yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Hassan.
I would like to request, and I'll also make sure that this request is submitted in a formal capacity. I would like the status of the ESL hub that's located at Camden Street School. We did get an oral report on this at our last general board meeting, and we will also advise that further reporting would be available to the board at our request. Second, in regards to the email that was sent to Mrs. Smith Gregory regarding her request for information, I specifically asked that at the board member when this board meeting when this request was made, whether or not the district would provide this information, and at no point in time did anybody indicate that there were any type of issues or concerns with what was being requested or with the district providing that information. So I do have a copy of what was sent to Ms. Smith Gregory, and at this point in time, I'd like to ask, and hopefully I can get a response on this, why does this information have to be Oprah'd? And is this a practice that we will be utilizing going forward with organizations? Next, as a board, we received a copy of the Universal Enrollment Memorandum of Understanding. Tonight, obviously, we heard a lot of concerns from members of our community and throughout the week. We've received this information as a board, but also think that it's important for members of the community to see what this memorandum of understanding looks like. So I don't know how the district will make this available, but I think that would be in our best interest if we could make that information available to the community. And lastly, we also received in our board packet, this here is the implementation report on the historic contract with the Newark Teachers Union. I believe that this is very important information that should be shared with the community. And if we could have this information presented at an upcoming board meeting, I think that it would be very beneficial for members of the community, and it will answer a lot of questions that they have regarding the contract and bonus pays and merit pays, etc. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rashan. We're really interested, I think, right now in the response regarding the Oprah issue, because, you know, we're certainly looking to resolve it internally, and we don't want people trying to resolve it outside.
All right. I will gladly also in sidebar speak to Mr. Hassan and Ms. Gregory, but let me just state on the record, though, and I don't want to belabor it because it is complicated, and I'm more than happy to clarify it. First and foremost, by law, anyone is entitled to that information. My office, all Oprah requests come through the legal counsel's office, to which I direct and oversee. The final decision does rest with me in terms of what Oprah request we are obligated to submit. So there's no denial of that. The instruction that I provided to the ethical officer in my office was the following, that was an indirect Oprah request that was given to the board. We, out of courtesy, always honor a board member who emails us with a list of questions, and we do that by courtesy, not by law, but technically speaking, anyone in the public domain, as well as anyone that's on the board, by statute is required to submit an Oprah request. That has, again, been a courtesy. There was never, ever any intention of not providing the information, but the way in which it was delivered, it was my decision again that this was an Oprah request. So, Ms. Gregory, I'd be more than happy to speak to you after, but again, this is not a refusal of the data. The data you're entitled to, and that's always been consistent with the direction that I provided, in which upon my information and belief was given to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam
Older
Chair?
business? Yes, Ms. Perillo?
Yes, I have a concern, which is kind of frustrating. And this is just a follow-up with Mr. Hassan's. Can we definitely have the information as to what's occurring with the ESL students at Camden Street? Because I received this information outside, which was basically what we have been hearing for a long time, but without actually having some official information as to what's happening. But what concerns me is, of course, with all these schools closure, is in the bottom where it says special ed being dismantled, ESL bilingual program being destroyed. I would like to have some clarity as to what is occurring with the ESL program and the bilingual program, because when the community asks us for some information, it looks bad on our part when we don't have the information to provide them. So then it comes back and saying, okay, you guys as board members aren't doing what your duty is, which is asking the questions to the superintendent so we could give the community the accurate information or the answers to their question.
So my question is, are you asking for a general update in terms of what is happening in general
Correct.
with ESL and bilingual? So,
Correct.
Are you asking for an answer to that now? Do you want that information
Answer to that now,
sent
please.
to you?
Answer to that now, please. And then if in the event the answer is extensive, then we could just follow up with an email as a response.
Is there anyone here who can actually answer that at this moment, or can you? And then if there are more questions, we'll follow up.
We'd be happy to provide a more comprehensive report, including how students are assigned. It is categorically false that we're looking to dismantle, our legal right and our moral obligation to serve our students who have second language needs. The recent adjustments in the Renew schools were in fact to further meet the needs of those students. Dr. Chananiam gave a report on that last time, and I'm certain he would be happy to give an update As far as what's happening throughout the district, I think most individuals are aware there are 3 different types of services that can be provided and must be provided according to law. We're very serious about that obligation, both legally and morally, and that has to do with English as a second language services, bilingual for young people who are actually at the front end of learning English, and sheltered instruction for those who are in English-only classes but still might need some scaffolding. All 3 of those are indicated on a student's plan based on an assessment that's also mandated by the state that our office gives and will continue to give, and the way in which we assign students has been adjusted over various tenures of superintendents to try to meet the needs of those students best. We embrace that obligation and, are very committed to our students who have second language needs. We'd be happy to provide a more detailed report about how students are assigned, how those decisions are made, what assessments we use, what curricula we use, and why we made adjustments at the Renew schools so that we could actually do that even better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else old or new business?
I have one more thing. This is just to congratulate the school, which is McKinney.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Lewis.
just one last request. Can we also, because I heard one of the speakers talk about after-school programs that have been cut, can we get a list of after-school programs that have been cut throughout the district? In every ward, every after-school program that been cut, not just to me, but to the entire board.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Hassan.
I just also want to point out that in one of our packets that we received from the district, there's actually a list of after-school programs that are available throughout the city of Newark. Some of them are free. Some of them have a fee associated with them. They're not provided direct, through the district, but they are provided by outside organizations. I think it would be good for us to make that list of after-school programs available to families so that they will at least be able to see that there are some options available to them and can look into it. I don't know how we will work that out, but maybe refer that to the Constituent Services Committee so that they can come up with an idea or recommendation.
I think that may actually already be available. Let's find out if it's already available via the district.
Okay.
Anyone else old or new business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Second.
Second Perrello, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you. Is Ms. Vasquez still here?
To Ms. Gregory Latta.